Yeah, my name is Marlon Ransom. I am a purple belt with 2 stripes, which is very important to someone my age. 2 stripes, 2-stripe purple belt. Didn't train at all during the pandemic, so I came back and, you know, it's a little bit harder to get back when you're not in your 20s or 30s or 40s. A little bit harder to come back. Or as my daughter, who's 17, says, she can quit for a year and come back, and it's like she never got off the mat. So,
Hey, yo, it catches up. It's going to catch up to her too one day.
hopefully.
I heard, especially for masters, it's better just to stay in shape. don't ever get out of shape. Just keep it.
100%, 100%.
What's your secret is, staying in shape and, staying active?
My secret is I have young kids. I have kids that are teenagers, or my son now who's 20, my daughter who's 17 going on 32. So I started jujitsu, like actually training and not just doing a class here and there when my son Tyler was 12, because we were horse playing, which is a term us old people use. And he got me in a zipper choke and choked me out. And I woke up and both of them were staring at me. And I was like, go do your homework. And the next day I went into Cabrinha's and I said, hey, how much is it for the unlimited to come as many days as possible a month? And I signed up because I was like, my son's not going to be 15. And then like, I can't tell him what to do. You know what I mean? So I'm like, no, that can't happen.
Because he had already been training before you, like a while.
I've been training since he was 6 years old, 5 years old.
Okay, that explains that zipper choke going on real tight.
Yeah, man. It was not a fun situation, but I was not going to allow that to happen when he got older. So,
and that
was my motivation, man. That was my motivation.
What made you get Tyler into it?
That's a great question. Well, I started Tyler in karate when he was 3, called kinder karate, which basically was like, the kids play around for 30 minutes. They put a little karate gi on and they play around, do a kick here and there, do a ki here and there, play around, So that's how he started. And he stayed in karate for a couple of years. He got up to where he was breaking boards, like at age 5. And then I got him into Muay Thai. And I did that because I always wanted to take martial arts when I was a kid, but I wasn't fortunate enough to have a father who really cared about what I wanted to do. So I wanted to have my kid. He was interested in it, so I supported him all the way. And then we did Muay Thai for a year, which I used to get tired watching the class. I was like, I'm tired just watching the class, and the elbows and the kicks. And I was like, man, this is brutal. And so we went from there to jujitsu, where he stayed up until he was 18. Yeah.
And what got your daughter? What made you get your daughter into it?
You know what? She always went, and she's very much like her mother. So she's very stubborn. So she never really wanted to, she would do what she'd see him do in the class when we got home, but she never wanted to do the actual class. So then I actually got her to do a private with, and this was at the Gracie Academy in Torrance. And she did a private with Raquel. God bless Raquel. She's such a great instructor. And Sky loved her. But after 10 privates, I could have bought a car with those 10 privates. So I'm like, okay, you want to do the class now? And she would not do the class.
Oh no.
And so I had to get Raquel thankfully agreed to go and like be her partner in the class. And so then that's when she started going to the class. So she started a lot later than Tyler, but she was by far out of the 3 of us the most, and still is the most competitive. So she was the one who did the tournaments and yeah.
It's so hard to I've taught kids for years, and like to get those shy kids in there, it's a challenge. But I think definitely like tricking them with games. Hey, you want to play dodgeball or whatever? Like, just kind of, it's like a trap. Like, hey, come. Yeah. And then I'll put the gi on too. And then like.
Yeah, that's true. And it depends on the parents too. I have too many parent stories. That's for sure. But thankfully, both my kids were interested. So Tyler was always very interested, and Tyler has a much different personality than Skylar. As far as
Mhm.
Tyler is a kid who is really good because he's trained with a lot of different people. So his style is interesting, I'd say.
Mhm.
From the Gracie Academy, Hedon and Henner, and then to Henry Akins and Eddie Bravo most summers, and then to Cabrini. It makes for really a different style altogether. But Tyler is that kid who, if a white belt comes that's new to class, Tyler is that one who will want to go over and be their partner and help them.
Mhm.
Whereas, Skylar and I will run to the other side of the mat
White
because,
belt.
yeah,
I,
we don't want to.
I
So,
it depends if I'm teaching, I'll help the white belt. If I'm not teaching, I'll like, go with that blue belt over there.
yeah. Yeah. Well, that's me and Skylar. But Tyler is like, he's that person who wants to help all the time. So he's got a different personality.
I just want to say that, a new white belt could be like the most dangerous person on the mat.
No, it is the most dangerous person on the mat. Trust me. I know.
They're just
I
so
was one.
unpredictable. Like we don't know what they're gonna do. We don't know what they did before, what kind of mindset they got.
For sure. For sure. And especially if they're big,
Well,
because I can't have them falling on me or, no, man, I can't do it. I can't do it.
I
It's
mean, you're
going
a
to be
big
a
guy, so
problem.
you know how it works with big guys. Like, oh, you're a big guy, you're another big guy. Okay, just go together.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that was this morning, but it is what it is.
How
Get
would
them
you
down,
just
hold them down in side control, and they get tired pretty quick. Shoulder pressure. To the point where they're all red.
mm-hmm.
The round's over, and they look at you, and okay, they're ready to switch partners quick after that. So,
How would you describe the big guy role? Like a big guy game? Like what's a big guy game for people that aren't familiar with big guy jujitsu?
well, come on, big. Well, you're talking to. I can only speak on big guys not like me because there's my nickname at the academy is Bushesha. That's because I move
Bullshit.
kind of like Bushesha. So so for me, I can do things other big guys can't do. So most
Big
big guys,
Cobrinha.
most big
Cobron.
guys, they're trying to get someone in their closed guard. Know what I mean? Or they're trying to smash them and pass them, or they just lay on top of them in side control. There's not a lot of movement normally. There's very basic moves like cross chokes or there's not a lot of movement.
It's so
Generally
effective though.
speaking.
Like if a big guy get me on side mount, I'm like, well, first off, I'm fighting tooth and nail to keep them off side mount. But if they get the
Yes.
side mount, I'm like, well, I'm dead. They got me.
Yeah. So but normally, you weather the storm. Most big guys, unfortunately, the cardio goes first. So after a couple of minutes, if you're moving a lot
Mm-hmm.
and not just letting them, then there's going to be a problem. So
It's just when they get on top, that gravity, that extra gravity they got.
yeah,
It's just like you're
100%,
doing a bench press the whole time.
100%.
Like just getting tired and it's oh, I've been traumatized over the years, guys.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so much framing you can do, and especially depending upon their size. But yeah, man, I mean, most big guys, they want to get to their positions. Like they don't want to play that bottom normally. Like I
Mm-hmm.
don't have a problem playing bottom because I normally train at the 12 o'clock class where I don't really have a choice because I'm placed on the bottom by such people that are a lot better than me. So
Mm-hmm.
I had to get used to being on the bottom, and getting my grips, and yeah, it's a bit different for sure.
I feel also like the mentality. Some of the big guys, like some of these big guys are mean, like so mean.
Well, some big guys want people that are smaller so they can just use all their weight and they're
Mm-hmm.
not using technique. I try to use technique as much as I can and not use my weight. But sometimes, when you're tired, you do what you got to do.
I saw Cobrinha, this is a long time ago. So Cobrinha, what, 150, 160. He rolled one time with my old instructor. It was this big guy named Bull, or nicknamed Bull, that was like over 300 pounds.
Sheesh.
And I think that was the last time I saw Cobrinha roll with a big person. It was like, after that, he was like, never again.
No, you got to be careful. I mean, for me, I normally know all of my training partners. Like I know them, so I know how they roll. So I tend to not roll with new people per se, because I just don't want to. I don't want to be injured, and because a lot of times when someone sees someone that's larger or a big guy like myself, they want to go as hard as possible, like they're trying to prove something, especially again if they're like they were a wrestler or something like that. They feel like they're I don't know, like they have something to prove or something. I'm like, yo man, I'm not, I'm not here for that. But if you want that, we can do that, but I prefer not. I prefer to stick with people I know. They know how I roll, I know how they roll. We have competitive roles, but it's not like I'm fighting. I never want to be in a situation where I feel like I'm fighting, you know what I mean? If you know what I mean. So
no, I 100% understand.
And that happens a lot when the Brazilians come from Brazil, like for tournaments, and they're guys that are my size, and like, come on, yo, boy, to the bang, come on.
Oh man, let's go, man. Let's go easy, man.
Yeah, or if I say, hey, I've got a little injury here, like don't, because that's exactly where they're going.
They're like, which leg is it? Which arm? Okay, man, I'm gonna go for it now, man. It's your fault for telling me.
Yeah, then I have to let them know, hey, hold on a second, man. How old is your pie? How old is your dad? Like, I'm your dad's age, so bring that down. So I'm going at a 10, going like a 3. Like, come on, keep it real.
I've learned so much from Brazilians, and it really keeps you on your toes. Like you just learn to expect the unexpected. Like, man, I'm always ready for that sneak attack. I'm just like, okay, what is he trying to do? Like,
oh, you mean like the wrist lock and the ankle
it's everything,
lock
everything,
yeah,
anything you could imagine. I'm like, man, I should have expected it. I want to talk a little bit about bodybuilding.
I'm familiar with that as well, by the way.
I want to talk a little bit about bodybuilding because me and Tyler touched on it, but he couldn't remember any bodybuilders. So I was like, man, your dad's gonna get on you. So how did you get into bodybuilding?
I got into bodybuilding because I was always super skinny. Like I graduated high school, I'm 6'2", I weighed 150. And so I was always bullied. So I started lifting weights because I wanted to not be bullied anymore. So I wanted to get as big as possible. And I did. And I topped out at 285.
Jesus.
When I was a senior in college. Yeah. When I was a senior in college, a lot of acai and working out properly. Because you can do acai, but if you're not working out properly, it don't matter. So people get that confused, just for on the record. But I was about 280, 285, and I had 10% body fat.
Jesus.
And I competed quite a bit.
You got some pictures from back then?
I do, somewhere.
I'm gonna need them for the thumbnail.
Yeah, somewhere. I gotta ask my daughter if she has them. She has a lot of my old stuff. But so I was deep into bodybuilding because I enjoyed being big. I enjoyed not getting picked on anymore, and people looking at you differently with a respectful glare. Yeah, for sure, 100%. So I had a lot of bodybuilders that were friends of mine. I used to come out to Venice. I was like 17, 18, and stay for like a month in cheap hotels and work out at Gold's Gym, and got to be friends with quite a few of them that I'm still friends with today. So
that's awesome. I love these. They have these little.
And so what's interesting is Flex Wheeler, who you should know if you're into bodybuilding, who was one of the most accomplished uncrowned Mr. Olympia. He has a similar illness as Tyler. So it's always interesting talking to him or listening to those two talk when they have before, and they're talking about medications, and they both have they're on pretty much the same regimen of medications. So that's always interesting to listen to them talk.
I know you had had a pretty serious leg surgery. I followed bodybuilding kind of just peripherally, so I just saw he had but man, just his mindset.
Well, yeah, he had his one of his legs had to be amputated. Yeah.
But just his mindset,
Sure.
Do you feel like Tyler has a similar mindset, like just resilient, very resilient, kind of just from the things he's been through?
100%. 100%. But I'd like to take credit for that, but I really can't, because from when he was very, very young, like 6, 7, 8, he was always that way. Like when I'd try to I'd always, I'm a very solution-based, pragmatic person, right? So I'm like, I was always trying to figure out what is the solution to my son's problem. And my son has a kidney illness, for people that don't know. But I'd say, okay, maybe we should try being a vegetarian and see how that affects your blood work. And
Mhm.
his comment was always, okay. So for everything, like he'd say, okay, what do we got to do, Dad?
Mhm.
And so I was like, wow, like if I'm a kid, I'm not okay with that, but he'd be
Mhm.
okay with that. And he'd go to like birthday parties and stuff, and other kids they'd make like, like, okay, Tyler has this vegetable platter and we're eating like, cookies and cake and stuff. So, um,
Mhm.
yeah, he's always been really resilient and open to not just being like down in the dumps. You know what I mean? Like he's always been like, okay, what do we need to do to solve whatever I'm going through? So
This is kind of a personal question. I'm just kind of riffing off this, but
sure.
I mean, you've raised two, awesome kids. How,
And my daughter's leaving next week. I have to take her to her dorm. And I
uh,
will say that I can say in all honesty, I have never felt this emotion before, because it
mm,
is so, oh, it's gut wrenching, man. Like I'm sad every day. I'm sad about this. I have to tell you, every day I'm sad about her. Tyler, when he graduated high school, I had already packed his stuff up. I'm like, hey,
all right, get
is there
out of here.
anything I missed? Like, when does your college start? Let's get you a flight.
He came off
You know,
the podium. We got his
yeah, like you,
diploma.
like, yo,
He's got his
like,
bags packed.
hey, would you like to start school early? Like,
Let's get out
but
of
with
here.
her, I'm like, every day is like, oh, sheesh, not much longer now. Yeah, this is yeah, but anyway, you were asking.
So my question is, say when your kids were younger, how were you able to find what they were good at and help them pursue those things that they were good at that they wanted to do?
That's a great question. Um, I just listened to them. Like
Mm,
every single night they're with me, because I co-parent with their mom. But the nights they're with me, which they're with me like maybe 60, 70% of the time, uh, we eat dinner together every night. And we go around the table, and in Team Ransom, there is no such thing as how was your day? Oh, it was good. That's not an answer. That's not an answer. So they
mhm,
have to talk and say how their day was, or who their friends are, or I know the friends' parents. Like, but they would talk about what they like to do, or what did they do a day at school that they didn't like, or what are their favorite subjects. So we go from person to person. Then they'd ask me, I'd talk. And so since I've always done that with them, and I'm a extreme communicator,
mm.
um, they've had to learn how to communicate at my level. So they've always told me what they want to do or what they want to try. Like with Skylar, I can use her as an example. I can't, I lose track of the amount of things I've paid for, from ice skating to gymnastics to swimming classes to singing classes,
Mhm.
which that was, to throw out a figure at you, that cost me 250 for 30 minutes.
Oh, Jesus. Jesus.
Yes,
Well, you're in
he's an
California.
acclaimed he's
You're
an
in
acclaimed
California.
guy out here who works with a bunch of, and she was so, that's the only time I ever, because I've never pushed my kids to do something I wanted them to do. I always let them do whatever they wanted to do.
Mhm.
But with Sky, with the singing, she is so good that I've always been, to this very day, upset that she doesn't want to pursue that, because I'm like, she is so, like, I took her to The Voice.
Mm.
We were sitting front row. A friend of mine has a friend who's a producer, um, but she didn't want to pursue it. But everything I just named, she didn't want to pursue. So she did it for a while. She stopped. I don't know if I said ice skating, but ice skating too. She's tried everything, dance. Um, so with her, it's always whatever you want to do. Okay, what's next? So thankfully, she's really good at science and math. So she
Mm.
got scholarships for both. So I'm excited about that.
Good job.
She's super smart. Tyler's smart too, but in a different way. He's
Mhm.
creative. Now with Tyler, he started out. playing the bass. I'm sorry, the saxophone. And he was playing the massive, I'm not a music person, so he was playing the massive saxophone, which the baritone sax, which I just paid for, which was like, this is super expensive. This thing is super large. What the hell are you doing? But hey, this is what you want to do, no problem. And then I give Eddie Bravo some credit, because Eddie told him once, Eddie goes, why don't you play the guitar, man? He said, the coolest guys play the guitar and the coolest guys get the girls. And next thing you know, Tyler said, I want to try the guitar.
I've always this jiu-jitsu and bass and all this.
And I've always thanked Eddie for that. Yeah. So then when he switched to guitar, I'm like, okay, this is much cheaper. And so he started playing the guitar. So I tell him he's blessed all the time, because he found what his passion is very early in life, and he is super good at it. So that's all he's ever wanted to do since then. Like, and he as he might have told you, he uses lessons he learned in jiu-jitsu with his guitar playing. So it's been quite a journey for him. So basically that's it. Like, I let them choose what they wanted to do, and then take it from there. And I just provide the resources as best I can, and try to give them the knowledge they need to make sure whatever it is they're choosing, is something that's going to be beneficial in the long run, or it's going to pay off for them. You know what I mean?
I feel like parents nowadays listen so much better to kids. Like, I remember growing up and like, oh, better shut up. I don't want to get hit or anything. I don't have, like, I felt like I didn't have a valued opinion as a kid. Maybe it was just me, but I was like, well, better shut up.
I didn't have any opinion because I wasn't allowed to have an opinion.
Yeah. I was like, well, we're doing this. I don't have a choice.
Yeah. No, I get it. I think it depends on the parents. I don't think the timing is anything. I think it depends on the parents. Like, I know a lot of jiu-jitsu parents, which I'm not going to get into that, but I know a lot of jiu-jitsu, because my motto is, I take care of my kids. I just remember going to a tournament when Sky first started doing tournaments, and when she was young, because they had the girls against the boys, or integrated with the boys when they're young. And I remember in one of Sky's first tournaments, and a kid got her in an arm bar, and the dad was yelling from across, like, break her arm, break her arm.
Oh no.
And come on, man. I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy, man. So I of course had to respond to that, right? So I'm like, damn, this is how it is. Like, so I've seen a lot of parents who definitely, and it's a guy that's out of shape and the wife's out of shape. And it's like, okay, do you even train? Like, a lot of people live through their kids. I'm not a believer in that. I believe you support your kids and what the kids want to do, and you should have your own thing. You shouldn't live through your kids, which was really bad when Sky was doing dance class, because those some of those parents were really something.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's a world I have no clue about, but I can imagine, some of the pageant dance.
It was on another level.
Kind of stuff.
Another level.
Let's talk a little bit about pro wrestling. Tell me a little bit about how you got into that. And
well, one of the only things I ever did with my dad that I have fond memories about was going to professional wrestling matches. He would take me to professional wrestling. And so I always liked professional wrestling, because it's the only thing where my dad did something with me where I was like, wow, my dad's doing something with me. As weird as that might sound. So I always liked professional wrestling. And then when I was really, really big, like 280, 285 in Texas, I got an opportunity to train with a very acclaimed Jose Lothario, to try to become a professional wrestler. So I did some training, and I realized that fake stuff is not fake stuff. And I realized
jumping off stuff and like
getting chopped, falling, hitting your back, getting knocked out from hitting your back and hitting the back of your head. Like, yeah. But anyway, it did not pan out for me for a lot of reasons. But yeah, I was massively interested always in professional wrestling, and a big fan for many, many, many years.
We're seeing a lot of athletes going into professional wrestling. So there's one, I think it's Gable Stevenson, the kid that won the Olympics.
Yeah, for sure.
There's been like
Yeah.
Ronda Rousey, so many different people that are like,
Ken Shamrock.
yeah, Ken Shamrock. It's just like,
Yeah.
do you think
But they
that's
get
like,
into it and they don't realize the travel schedule, and they don't realize the pounding the bodies, the pounding on their
oh
bodies.
yeah,
And they don't realize it's much more difficult to do things where you're not punching someone, but it's got to look like you're punching them hard.
mm-hmm.
Pulling punches, pulling kicks, pulling. It's way more difficult than they think. So they assume it's going to be an easy transition, but for many of them, it's not. So it's, I think they gain a whole new level of respect for sure.
I mean, if you had to choose between like fighting in the UFC or doing professional wrestling, like where do you think you would go?
You mean if I was 20 years old?
Yeah, we just time machined you back, or brought that 20-year-old version here in
Professional wrestling
2021.
all day.
Professional wrestling.
Yeah, I want to be an entertainer
Mm-hmm.
for sure. I mean, not everyone can be a Conor McGregor, right? Or move someone. Not everyone can move the needle like that, but you got to have the skills to back it up
Mm-hmm.
in fighting, and you can get severely injured doing that. And I think that you could, when it boils down to it, when you're looking at how much money you're making, there's a reason why Gable Stevenson chose WWE over fighting. Financial. It's easy. It's an easy decision.
I guess even for him, you think just okay, fresh off Olympic victory, you think he's getting offered more to do wrestling versus
100%. 100%.
That's crazy. Like
For sure. I mean, think about how those fighters get paid. Like, I don't care to get into fighter pay, but you say they get paid. But let's say someone gets paid and they're fighting in California here.
Mm-hmm.
People don't think about taxes.
Oh yeah.
How much taxes come out of that? Or if they're Brazilian and they got to go back to Brazil, like how does that money transfer over into their money? Like how much percentages they lose? It's like when they win
they're taxed on the gross, right? The gross.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
you made
yeah. So you have a lot of different tax situations where when it says this is how much they're making, that's not what they're taking home. That's their gross pay. That's not their net pay. So different ways you got to look at that, So you got to make smart business decisions. It's kind of like my son with being a jazz guitarist. It's like, okay, what's the probability you're going to really make a living? Is it how many other jazz guitarists make a living doing this? So you better figure out a way to have more things in your repertoire. You know what I mean? Like you can score films, you can produce other people, so it's the same type of thing, if that makes sense.
So you did a very massive project where you did a documentary kind of covering your son's kidney illness. What made you decide to document that? Because that was kind of, now everybody documents stuff, right? Instagram, whatever. But back then, what made you decide, oh, this is a story worth telling? I mean, outside of it being your son, obviously.
Well, I was always documenting him for his website. I created healingtyler.com with my good friend Robert, who created the site for me, my good friend Jackie, who created the first Healing Tyler logo. And I came up with that idea because it was, I think when Tyler was about 9 or so, he used to have a relapse, which basically his kidney filtering system would shut down. So he'd go from weighing, like, let's say at that time, like 120 pounds. The next morning he's weighing like 140 pounds. Jesus. His eyes are swollen shut. His stomach he can't put his pants on, that type of thing. And normally he'd have like 1 relapse a year, from like 18 months old on. And, he'd get on some prednisone and some diuretics, et cetera. And then, in a couple of weeks, he's good. And then when he's like 8 or 9, all of a sudden he had like 10 relapses that year, like one after the other. Like he couldn't get out of the hospital. And I am not the type of person that like, how do I break it down to sound nice about myself? I'm not that person that really cares to just sit back and like, okay, whatever you doctors say. I'm like, what can I do to try to help my son? So I'm like, okay, I'm going to try to come up with something. And I'm like, well, you know what? He's done he does jujitsu. I was writing for an MMA magazine called Ultimate MMA. So I was like, I'm going to see if people will roll with him. And I had like a little handheld camcorder and I'm going to film it and I had no idea what I was doing, to be honest with you. And the very first person he rolled with and was at a class was at Eddie Bravo's 10th Planet. And then the next person after that, I think, was Heat On Gracie. Then we, a lot, from Ronda Rousey before she was really huge, right before she fought Miesha Tate for the title is when Tyler rolled with her. He rolled with Mark Munoz, with Verdum. He's rolled with a lot of people. So basically, I took that same formula and put it on his website, healingtyler.com. He'd roll with people, then show his medication, talk about his illness. And that's how I spread awareness about what my son was dealing with. So, and that led to years and years later, of course, Tyler and I wrote a book together called Chronically Positive, which I marketed to schools. And I'm very thankful it's done extremely well pre-COVID. So it's, I got to start marketing it again now as things are still wicked crazy out here. But, and then I decided, what could I do with all this extra footage I had? and it was during COVID, right? So I'm like, okay, everyone's watching content and everyone needs content, all these different services. And so then I was like, okay, I'm going to film them now in present day, Skylar interviewing Tyler. And I'd done that when they were very, very young. And I said, it'll be kind of cool. So I'm going to write out how it would look and see if this makes sense. So it made sense. I got some friends of mine, like a DP, my sound guy, color guy, and I said, let's make it happen. And so I just mapped it out and got some people to interview. And thankfully I had footage from the hospital because, I was that person that, even though they said you're not allowed to film here in Cedar Sinai, there's, because all the celebrities go there, I filmed everything. He's getting a biopsy, I'm filming. I think they just assumed
you're ahead of your time.
I think they just assumed he must have like some type of special consent. So I think they were scared to say anything. So I'm like, hey, they don't ask. I'm not saying nothing. So that's what I did. So I said, okay, let me put this together. Let me, submit it. And it was on Amazon Prime for about a year and a half. Now it's on demand. And so really, really well. And it's still doing really well now, more so on demand, because people in Brazil, my friends in Japan, my friends in the UK, they can all watch it. Where it was on Amazon Prime, it was just Amazon Prime United States. So
I think it's cool. I mean, obviously I know you guys, so I enjoyed it. But I think also, like,
thankfully people that didn't know me or Tyler enjoyed it. So that's when I was reading all the reviews, I was like, wow, it's 5 stars. We're over 150 reviews. People are still liking it that I don't know. So I was like, this is great.
I was just about to say, like, as Tyler, goes on his own and makes a name for himself, like, people are always going to go back to that. Oh, that was Tyler when he was young, like, oh, he went through this.
Yeah, for sure.
Something I think you were posting pretty recently or a while back was like, you talked a little bit about entrepreneurship, or that's kind of the feeling I got. And just how can, I'm just kind of open question. I'm thinking right now, this is how I think, guys. Just how can people kind of get over the fear of, taking risks like that, whether it be a business or, just pursuing their passion?
That's a great question. I'm a big believer in people. First of all, you got to know who you are. What I mean by that is, I think people have to know their role, like know where you're at. Like some people that want to be bosses,
CEOs,
they don't have the skill set or the character, that's not them. You know what I mean? Or like if I go to a coffee shop, which I go to every day, and if it's a barista there who's dour in mood, et cetera, it's like, this is not the job for you. But I don't go to places like that. I go to places where I know the owners, I know all the workers. They go, hey, Marlon, how are you? Why? That's their role. They're in their role. So I'm saying, the first thing I have to say is know your role. If you're a good salesperson, if you're a good marketer, know your role. Don't try to go outside of your role. That's what I think is number one. But if your passion, like for instance, my son's passion is playing the guitar and singing, right? So I say, okay, son, what do you need me to, do you need my help? First of all, yes, Dad. Why? Because he is not good at certain things he knows he's not good at. I'm not good at selling myself. I'm not good at having merchandise and asking people to buy it. I'm not, okay, I'll handle that. He knows what he's good at. So the first thing I'd say is people should know what they're good at. And if you have a passion for something and you want to flourish at it, you need to map it out and say, okay, this is where I want to end up. This is where I'm currently at. Like someone can't say I want to be a millionaire, but I'm currently on food stamps. Well, damn, that's a hell of a, how are you going to get, let's start with how you're going to get off food stamps. Not that I'm saying food stamps is a bad thing. So just so that's clear, I'm simply saying that you need to have attainable goals, not goals where they're so far out there, there's no way you're ever going to get there. You know what I mean? Like my industry for countless years was fitness. I lived in Chicago, I had 2 gyms and about 60 trainers that worked for me off and on, right? But how did I get there? I started out as a personal trainer in a health club working for someone. But my goal, I always knew my goal was to not be working for someone in a health club. My goal was to be working for myself and training people in their homes. So steps. If your passion is doing jujitsu, which I applaud you for what you do, because I think these videos are great. The videos you do are great. I watch some of those videos and I go, man. And then I go, well, I'm a super heavyweight. That ain't gonna work, but I enjoy looking at it. So it's great stuff when you figure out, okay, how can I get creative with jiu-jitsu and make my own lane, so to speak, So I think people have to find their own voice, and I think they need to embrace their passion. And I agree a lot. I've heard a lot recently when people go, I don't have a plan B or a backup plan. I agree with that, because I think if you have a backup plan, you're not going to be totally committed to, hey, if this doesn't work, well, I can go do that. I've always been all in. And a lot of times that all in meant I lost a lot of money or I've lost stuff but I was okay with that because I knew the risk and I was willing to take the risk. Like I used to do trips to Mexico, to Costa Rica, like fitness trips. When I first had the idea, I said, I'm going to get people to pay me and I'm going to get some trainers to go. And we're going to train people on the beach. Sounds like a great idea, right? Because I'm in Chicago. Like wintertime, let's get the hell out of here. And I remember the first trip I had like 3 people sign up. I mean, it was a bust. Like I lost thousands of dollars. But okay, what did I do wrong? Let's retool, let's regroup, let's repackage. And the next trip I did the next year, I had 50 people pay. And then I had 100 people. So a lot of times people have to understand that there's going to be times where they fail. And I'll say fail because people say, you win or you learn, right? No, you win or you lose in my world. So I lost money, lost time, but I gained knowledge. Like, okay, how can I do this next time to make sure? So I don't know if I've answered your question because I'm just riffing. No. But my point is people need to know what their strengths are first and foremost. Like, don't want to be a singer if you can't sing. Maybe you should be a producer or a writer. You know what I mean? Or don't be a shooter. Like I want to be able to shoot films and I'm going to buy the best film equipment. And if you don't know how to do that, don't do it. Stick with what you know, stick with what you're good at, and then map out, okay, how can I make this passion something I can do every day? So that's what I do every single day. So I don't know if I answered your question, but
no, I think you did. I think I'm thinking a little bit about jiu-jitsu because it kind of, if you compete and, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but like, the tournament single elimination. So you lost. That's it, man. Like,
yeah, you lost.
Can't complain. Like
you lost.
You don't get a medal. You just,
yeah. Especially when you lose by advantage, right?
Yeah. It happens to the best of us.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's a very important lesson. You just like when I lose now, I'm like, well, I lost. Okay, just go for the next one. Like,
yeah, for sure. Like I said, when you talked about fear, I've never really had that fear, man. I don't have fear. I really don't. Like I know, okay, I need to make this happen by this date, or this could happen. I'm okay with that happening. So I think it's a mindset. I think entrepreneurial people generally think the way I think. I think they think, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And I'm all in, use all the chips. And if I do this, I'm going to make 100,000, or I'm going to be 100,000 in debt. Okay, I'm
Here we
100,000
go.
in debt. Now I got to think about how can I get out of this debt so I can do the next thing.
Let me get out of this debt I got myself into.
Yeah. But I embrace that. Like it's the juice, man. It's like it's adrenaline. You know what I mean? Like, okay, yes, this will work. I know it, you know? So
Do
I
you,
don't know if that makes sense or not, bro, but
what kind of motivates you? Like, do you like, you keep yourself like motivated, or like, you know, some people have to, you know, go to seminars, self-help, read self-help books, watch YouTube videos. I feel like you're just naturally like, you know, let's do this. We got it. Let's go.
100%. You're correct. I have friends that are similar to me and we feed off each other, or like that we'll call each other and say, hey, like I still have friends back in Chicago where I'll call, or friends in New York that I'll call and say, or they'll call me and say, hey, this is what I'm working on. What do you think about it? And I'll say, well, this is what I was thinking about doing. What do you think about that? Like I have some friends in Miami that I might be doing some stuff with, you know, so we do it every day. So when you have similar minded people, but with me, similar minded people, but if we're going to do something together, it's like, okay, I'm a big believer in having operating agreements. Like this is my role. This is your role. There is no intersection here. There's no, you tell, oh, well, what about you write this? What about you stay in your lane? We have a problem. So no, but I'm sure self-help books and those type of things are great. I'm not against them. But I personally don't need it. No, because I motivate myself every day, man, every single day.
Can the regular person develop that, you think?
No, I think you either have it or you don't. I think some people are self-motivated. That's just who they are. Like they don't have a problem. Like, and I'll use my son as an example again in reference to, I mean, he plays the guitar every day for like 3 to 4 hours a day, every single day for years now. So a lot of people don't know, or a lot of people that follow Tyler online will be like, oh my God, he's so talented. And I always kind of just smile and just go, okay, because they don't understand that when he switched from the saxophone to the guitar, he was not good.
Mm-hmm.
And he tried to get into a high school when he was going to be a freshman. He tried to get into the School of the Arts out here, and he had to audition, and he auditioned with the guitar, and he scored well, first of all, he didn't get in. He was devastated. You know, I'm that dad. So I called him to say, hey, I want to know why my son didn't get in.
Yeah.
Give me the breakdown. To which they clearly were not used to someone like me. So they gave me the breakdown and said and I'm so not going to pretend like I know what I'm talking about, but this on scales, he scored a 2, you know, out of 10. And on this, he scored this. All this, it was low, like 2, 1, 3, 4. And he's got to be like an 8 or 9 to get into this school. And so I said, son, these are your scores. He knew what they all meant. Now, Tyler's comment was, Dad, can you help me so this doesn't happen again? Yes, I can. And that's when I got him his instructors he had, Mr. Kim, Mr. Williams, who you saw in the documentary, Mr. Kim, who speaks hardly any English at all.
Yeah, he was in the documentary too, wasn't he?
Yes. You know, I mean, he's been with Mr. Kim now for 5, like whenever he just came back for a little bit from New York and he saw Mr. Kim. So he's been with him for like 5-6 years, Mr. Williams too. So once a week he had privates with them, was the equivalent of like doing a private with Cabrini. And he practiced on his own. Like he got good from constantly working his craft. I didn't have to tell him to constantly work his craft. I didn't have to tell him this was on him. So I think certain people have drive. Certain people need to be motivated by others to have that drive. You know what I mean? Certain people just have talent. And this is like Skylar, well, I hope he's not listening, but Skylar has talent in a lot of things, which I think is actually, I'm not going to say it's not good, but I'm going to say it's not good because since she's so good at a lot of things, she doesn't want to stop and excel at any one thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but so I think I answered your question. I think everyone has the ability to be positive, or to motivate themselves. But I think certain people need other tools to make that happen. And certain people, they just have it inside and just need to be directed in the right path.
I think I hit everything I wanted to say, Marlon. You have anything I missed or you like want to bring up or anything?
No, man, you hit a lot of things, man. Hopefully I said something
No, I think it was,
interesting
yeah.
to your audience. You know what I mean? If you're, I guess what I could say is anybody who's 50 plus who's doing jujitsu and they just want to start jujitsu, start jujitsu. But the number one thing you got to do is listen to your body. Listen to your body. Like what I've had to do more than anything, and this is with everything I do, because I do 3 basic things almost on the daily. Let's go to the gym, work out, longboard, which is my new passion, which there's a lot of falling, which I've learned that judo actually helps with the falling for longboarding, and jujitsu, right? But I've had to adjust my brain or my mindset, or as people always say, but I think it's I think rarely is it actually done in jujitsu, but the concept of leaving your ego at the door. Because from what I see, a lot of ego is out on the mat on a regular basis. But I've learned that, man, as I'm older, I'm still fit, but I've had to, okay, where am I at now? Like when I go to the gym, like when people, if they see me on Instagram, lift 100-pound dumbbells, oh my God, you're so strong. Dude, I used to lift 200-pound dumbbells. That's a come down.
You're like, oh, I used to be, yeah.
Yeah, like, so it's called, I had to understand, okay, where am I at now? Can I do that now? Is it conducive for me to do something that could tear a tendon or no, it's not. I don't want to be injured. So I'm going to lift the 80-pound dumbbells now. I'm going to go light as possible now. So, but understand, I started at 200. So when I say 80 is light, for me, 80 is like I can do that in my sleep. It's not a big deal. Or I can squat up. I don't go over 225. You know, I used to squat 5 plates on each side. So that is still a little difficult up here, but I have to understand I'm not a 20-year-old anymore. So with rolling, it's the same thing. I used to only go to the 12 o'clock class, and I had to tell myself, Marlon, you're getting destroyed. Well, not really, because you know, I'm a strong dude, but I'm playing defense and I'm getting no offensive moves because I'm just trying not to get tapped out. Is this fun for me? It's not. So I'm like, okay, that's why I tried out the 7 a.m. class this morning. Like, let me try out some different classes that are going to be more suitable for where I'm currently at with my body, with my skill level, because I have to be honest with myself. Is it easy? No, it's not easy. So I'm saying anyone who's doing jujitsu or is going to start jujitsu at a later age, you need to understand, one, let's keep it real. We all get injured doing jujitsu. There's always going to be injuries, but my job is to try to mitigate injuries to the best of my ability. And so I'm going to roll with people I know. I'm not going to roll with people where I say, hey, I'm feeling like my knee is kind of bothering me, and this person's going to be going for single legs on that knee. I'm rolling with people I know, so I know I don't have to worry about being injured because they don't want to be injured. And for you new people, I'm not saying people try to injure you in jiu-jitsu. I'm saying that I have a loud personality, so to speak. So I talk a lot in class, which I'm probably the only one who does and can bring it constantly throughout the years. So, yes, you know. But, you know, so people want to do well against me. So I have to be able to back up my loud personality. So I've had to go to different classes now because I don't want to be getting smashed by people. So anyway, the moral to the story is, like with longboarding, I hired a guy who's going to be teaching me stuff because I want to be good at it, because I don't like to just to do stuff. I want to be good at what I'm doing at whatever age I am. So I guess my what I'd say is, no matter what age you are, you need to know your skill level and know where you want to go or what you want out of it. And then what you put into it, you'll get out of it. But you got to be realistic with yourself, leave your ego at the door in whatever you're doing. I have to do that when I'm longboarding. I have to do that when I'm doing jiu-jitsu. I have to do that when I'm working out with weights. So that's the moral to the story.
Thank you. I think that's good.
And bro, I love what you're doing because it's needed. It is greatly needed to see someone who looks like you doing what you're doing, because then other people that look like us want to put the gi on and say, man, maybe I could do that. This is for me. So it's very much appreciated, man. Much respect to you. Much respect to you. I love your videos. Watch them all.
Oh, thank you, Marlon. All right, I'm gonna let you go.
No problem. Right on, man.
Hope you enjoy your Friday.
Os.
Right on, man.
Let's roll soon, bro. Let's roll soon. I'm gonna make it out your way. We can roll.
Yeah, we got your guy. Was it
For
Diamond
sure.
DDP yoga over here?
Yeah, for sure, man. I got to take you over there so you can do some DDP yoga, man.
Yeah, I'll be down. It's not too far from where I'm at now.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. And by
All
the
right.
way, for people that are watching, it says Skylar Ransom because my daughter set this up for me and because I don't know anything about technology, bro. So
I'll change
Skylar
it. I'll
Ransom.
change it. I'll change it in the post production.
Anyway, that's all I got, bro. Hey, great, man. Thank you for your
Thank you
time.
so much.
Right on, bro. Peace.